Welcome back. As we're reminded quite often on Anzac Day, one of the great advantages of fighting for freedom and democracy is to be able to debate issues publicly and without fear. And that's what we do on Sky News, and especially when we bring in our panel of commentators. Let's welcome Prue McSween, Liberal Senator Holly Hughes and Graham Richardson. Good evening to you all.
Happy Anzac Day, guys.
Yes.
Good evening, Chris.
Now, I've got to start with you, Holly.
What have I done? What have I done?
This is headline stuff. You actually spent the early parts of Anzac Day aerial.
I did. I've been up since 3:15 this morning and did the bridge climb. It was such a privilege to represent Veterans Minister Darren Chester.
What, with bugle and everything?
Bugle, everything. We had the full dawn service up on the top of the bridge. It
Amazing.
was just, and I'd never done bridge climb before, and I took my daughter with me. So
Here we go.
Quite a special, very special moment.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
How glamorous I looked at that time of the morning.
Amazing.
as well.
You did. Scrubbed up so well.
I love that. All right, let's start with what Peter Dutton had to say today. While we've looked back at war today, Defence Minister was looking ahead. He had this to say on the ABC.
I think China has been very clear about the reunification, and that's been a long-held objective of theirs. And if you look at any of the rhetoric that's coming out of China from spokesmen, particularly in recent weeks and months, in response to different suggestions that have been made, they've been very clear about that goal.
Richo, a rather sobering forecast for an Anzac Day.
It is, but of course what China will do about Taiwan is a question we wonder about all the time, not just on Anzac Day. And I think it's the one thing around the world at the moment, more so than the Middle East, where I think you could start a conflagration that could involve nuclear weapons. It's really scary. It's because it's so adjacent to China, and you just can't imagine that suddenly the enmity between the two places is going to disappear. It will stay, and the rhetoric will continue to be horrible. And so we just have to hope that the Chinese don't overreact.
Prue, on Anzac Day, I guess I would say this being Anzac Day, you can't imagine the world still being that stupid.
You can't, can you? When you look at the futility of war, it's just so sad. But the thing is, thank God this government is taking them on. And now I'm saying that, it sounds strange after what I just said before, but, you know, for too long, our governments have been asleep. And China has been infiltrating, as we all know, whether it be our universities with these Confucius institutes, right through, we know all about the Port of Darwin and this Belt and Road, which Daniel Andrews, you know, lay down and accepted. And I think good on Morrison for taking them on and making a stand and showing that we aren't just these, you know, mealy-mouthed sycophants that will just capitulate to any bullying that China throws at us. But we need to now take it further. We've got to get rid of the Confucius Institutes. We've got to make sure they don't get Cockatoo Island, which is so strategic. And we need to make sure that the Port of Darwin comes back to us.
Well, let's put that to Senator Holly Hughes, because we hear today that there are more Chinese accords that could be severed, deals that states, territories, maybe even local government has done. First of all, though, before we go there, surely they've got to look at the Port of Darwin, which should be ours, and surely we need to look at the Confucius Institutes in various universities.
Well, starting with the Confucius Institutes, universities should be a place where we see independent and free thinking, challenging of ideas, broad-based discussion. And that's just simply not the case when you look at these Confucius Institutes and what's being mandated as appropriate topics and inappropriate topics, whether it is Taiwan or Hong Kong, that reunification strategy. So those sorts of groups and bodies have no place, particularly in the university sector. With regards to the Port of Darwin and the other accords, Senator Payne is obviously looking at those. I'm not going to preempt anything that she may make a decision on, but I think the action that she's taken with regards to Victoria and Dan Andrews with Belt and Road is a really good first step.
Brilliant.
OK, Richo, can I just go back to the Port of Darwin for you? I see what she did with the Belt and Road signed agreement between Victoria and Beijing as similar to the signed agreement between the Northern Territory government and that entity from China that now leases the port for 99 years. We can do exactly the same, can we not?
We can, but I mean, don't you? You look at that decision on Darwin's Port, and you say to yourself, how dumb can Australia get?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How dumb? That was just plain stupid. And I don't understand why at the time a federal government didn't move in and do something about it. We cannot just sit back and allow stupid decisions like that to set us back. And that's what they do.
Yeah, it's dumber than what they did in Victoria. I want to talk about WA, the WA Premier in particular. He's obviously panicking because yesterday he was saying, give us Christmas Island Detention Centre and I want to send all of our COVID positive people in hotel quarantine there. That was refused by the Feds. Sorry, it's full. And now, well, he wasn't impressed at a press conference this afternoon. Have a look at this.
It should be a joint effort here. We're happy to assist. We're happy to do our bit. But we've been shouldering, and the states have been shouldering all the load in hotels that were never built for this purpose now for 14 months.
He's been shouldering nothing. New South Wales has shouldered the load.
Yeah.
I just want to go over there and.
He can't get physical, OK?
No, okay, but
Even
I
women
would,
can't get
I
physical
would
with men
with
either.
him, I tell you. I know, exactly, these days. Well, I will. But the thing is that this guy is such a hypocrite. You know, he's the one who stood up with his puffed up chest saying, we're going to close down. You aren't doing enough over there. We are the number one. And this idiot, this fool, is now throwing in the towel because he knows he's inept. He knows his systems won't work. He hasn't got the protocols and processes in place. And now he's trying to puff himself up and, throw all the blame onto the Feds.
That's
Give
what
me
it
a
is.
break.
Doesn't
We
have the
are
system.
not buying it, you fool.
Yeah.
It was just politicking. He got himself elected. Now he's thinking, oh, God, now I can tell the truth.
Now, while we were on air, I picked up something on social media, Holly Hughes, that I know that you wanted me to talk about, and I'm glad you raised it because on social media, people are getting excited about vision of a 90-year-old vet, we're told, ignoring McGowan's lockdown.
Good on him.
And marching on his own today in Perth with a backup. Have a look at the vision. On the back there, it's got honour the fallen. How good is that?
It is so good. I mean, it is just inspiring and heartwarming to see. It's a pity he's not supported by a few more people sticking it to McGowan, but we do know that it's pretty much a one-party state over there at the moment.
Yeah.
And the West Australians are loving their closed borders and their lockdowns, but it's indicative of, I think, of the fact you look at the premiers that are unable to manage contact tracing, that are unable to have faith in their own health system.
They had no infections 24 hours up until today, none for 24.
But to
Everyone
have-
lined up to get tested. What? Like, it's just a
To
joke.
have this reaction, though, over one case, though, is just insanity.
Yeah.
So they've obviously got no confidence in their own systems. They've got no confidence in their own ability to manage this and their own people being responsive to testing and looking after their health. And this ridiculous notion, at the end of the day, these health orders that are in place around quarantine are driven by the states being responsible for health orders, not the Feds.
Correct.
That's why at National Cabinet it was agreed that this
Exactly.
would be managed at a state level, not at a federal level, because they have the power.
And nothing's perfect.
But they
Nothing's
have
perfect.
the power to impose health orders, not the Feds.
Yeah.
And again, we see whether it's McGowan or Palaszczuk passing the buck at every opportunity.
Don't forget
they'll
our
take
mate
all the
Andrews.
credit when they can.
Dan Andrews as well, yeah.
Oh, well, Dan Andrews. I mean, Victoria's a whole new special case, and let's look at what happens there. But we don't even know when he's coming back to work. But there's, they have absolutely no ability to take any responsibility for their failures.
Yeah.
Claim every piece of credit they can, attack Gladys Berejiklian, who is literally leading the nation at every step of this pandemic in the response. It's just, it's business as usual for these guys. I mean, are we surprised?
No.
Exactly. I want to get to this, Richo, if I may, because this is down your alley. We're hearing that the May budget will be a budget for women. Now, I understand what they mean when they say that, but can't Josh Frydenberg overdo his hand on trying to lend a hand to women? Because at the end of the day, if you're talking about domestic violence hubs, relief on fees and charges, and thinking about what you can do for women, a lot of that seems to be the responsibility of the states, not the federal government, Richard.
Yeah, almost all of it is. The federal government's got very little responsibility, but of course it's chasing women's votes, so it's got to look like it has. And that's exactly what it's doing by these sort of announcements of what's about to come. Now, I think when the crunch comes, the announcements will be a lot. I think they'll be pretty disappointing. They'll be a lot less than what people have expected, and I think you'll find that it'll be a pretty limp old effort. But it's an effort being made because the Liberal Party have a worry that Morrison has a women problem, so to speak.
Yeah.
But they don't, and that's just Albo trotting out that rhetoric because nobody else. He can't get him on anything
But
else.
Morrison has been
The Liberals
slow.
believe it. Come on, the Liberals believe it. It's not a matter of Albo.
Well, they're just running scared because there was this bloody,
But Morrison
press
was slow
push.
to jump on the obvious.
He was slow, but the point is that women, I don't believe they have a women problem. And I think women are more intelligent than that. You know, the media's been whipping all of this up. And I think if we can get the gender pay gap addressed and some of those other issues, that's important.
Yeah, okay,
And
all right.
I'm supporting that.
I've just had the alert go off, not because you've got fired up at all, but it's time up. Sorry about that. Richo, Prue McSween, Senator Holly Hughes, thank you very much for coming in.
Chris.
Good to have you here. Coming up,
Smithy.
the incredible story of the former ADF commando, Damian Tomlinson. He says he was once a loser. He then became a hero, but then tragedy struck. A tragedy that has somehow taken this bloke way beyond what most people could ever achieve. And there's a new twist. Don't miss Damian Tomlinson. He's on the couch next.